Hey guys, thanks for joining me. This is Fly My Phantom. I came across this brilliant video today by a guy called Julian Chamberlain, a drone pilot, and the video is entitled Suspected Offence of Flying a Drone in Public, WTF. This chap's basically just out flying his Mini 2 over a weighbridge. Not quite sure why you'd want to film a weighbridge, but if that's your particular thing, then go for it. When a policeman decides to take offence, shall we say, at this drone being flown over. The first thing the policeman does is approach him and he asks him the usual question.
Over on a private check site, we tend to come over, have a chat with people, make sure everything's all okay.
What's your first name, sir?
Comes over, decides he wants to have a chat with him, and the first thing they do is ask him his name. Now at this point, he's not committed an offence, he's not guilty of anything, but the police always like to try and ascertain who they're talking to. First rule of talk to the police is unless you're being arrested or charged with a crime, you don't need to give them any details. You don't even need to answer any questions. And this YouTuber, Julian, knows exactly that.
So,
What's your first name?
what's my first
What
name?
is your first name?
I don't need to give my details, do I?
You committed an offence because you've been flying that in public.
So immediately, he says you commit an offence because you've been flying that in public. But as you will see later on, he doesn't actually have a clue what the rules are regarding flying drones. Julian does his best to educate him.
Okay, that is an
So
offence.
flying a drone in public is an offence.
You're flying that over a public piece of land, yeah?
Right, so over a bit of public land it's an offence, is it?
Yes. What's the guidance you were given?
What's the offence you think I've committed?
Right, okay.
So he asks him, what offence have I committed? The police officer goes quiet. He hasn't got a clue. Has there been an offence committed? There isn't. There's no offence committed. He's come over here and he admits he's a traffic officer with little or no knowledge of how drone rules work.
I came out here to try and discuss with you about the drone.
Okay,
I'm more than happy to admit that I need some specialist advice about the drone.
yeah.
So he admits he knows absolutely nothing at all about drone rules and that he needs specialist advice. So what does he do? Does he contact someone who's a specialist in the advice to get it? Nope. He opens his phone and he gets out Google and decides to look up Google results.
Okay, so I'm quoting to you from the Civil Aviation Authority website. It says here, do not fly closer to people than 50 metres. Well, you were certainly within 50 metres of me when I stood in the middle of the DVSA check site.
Right.
Okay, so I suspect you of then breaching that regulation, so I'm asking for your details.
So after looking on his phone and looking what Google says, even though he's not actually looked properly at the rules and regulations regarding sub 250 drones versus the larger version, he still decided that he's committed an offence, which to me is just bizarre. He should really be seeking proper advice from someone who knows what the rules are. So as it turns out, well, this Wallace here wasting his time looking at Google and trying to work out, if he can find out what the rules are. I believe his colleague is in the background on the radio to their drone team. Most police forces, I suspect, will have a drone team. They'll use it for search and rescue, finding offenders, etc. And these guys will know the rules. They will have studied them. They will have their A2CFC. They'll have all the relevant documentation, everything. And the knowledge of that is something that should be passed on to local police forces, at least maybe some paperwork. And eventually this guy gets his answer.
Okay, right, there we go. So the colleague there had a chat with the guys who work for the police and who operate drones.
Yep.
I'm told that there's no offence.
Stop picking your nose, you dirty bugger. So there you go, no offence committed. It took him a while to find that out. 18 minutes long the video is, and it's not cut down, it's the full version. But this sort of brings me to a point I wanted to make about the police not being educated enough. He didn't know what the rules were. He got his phone out and Google searched and then tried to use the result of a Google search as a basis for prosecution. And as he found out, obviously he was wrong. I also noticed he turns away from him. He won't look him in the eyes while he's admitting that he was wrong. Maybe a little bit of shame there, I don't know. But the police have got a job to do, ultimately, and that is to stop crime from happening. They're overstretched as it is. There's not a lot of them on the ground. They're trying to do the best they can. I don't have an issue with police. I have an issue with police who don't know what the job is. I have an issue with police who come in heavy-handed and do things that aren't legal because you think they are. This officer, as an example, this could have been handled so much simply if he'd come over to Julian and gone, "Can you just land your quad for a minute, mate? Right. I'm not sure about the rules, so what I'll do is I'm just going to contact my drone team, because I'm sure most police forces have them and they are very well educated on what the rules are. Just said to him, just hang on fire for a second, put your drone on the ground, just hang fire a second, just want to just make a quick call. What type of drone is it, fella? Is it, you know, what is it? And Julian would have said it's a Mini 2. I mean, or the officer could have said, you know, can I just take a quick look at it, bent down on the ground, looked at it, gone back to his drone colleagues, I've got this thing, it's marked up Mini 2 249, and they would have said, where's he flying? He said, it's over a drone bridge, over a way bridge, and at that point they'd have gone, yeah, no, it's fine, there's no offence being committed there. He could have turned to Julian and gone, look, it's causing a bit of grief, but legally you're allowed to fly it, but just have a bit of respect, you know, just try and keep it away if you can, if possible, or find somewhere else to fly. Julian did an absolutely fantastic job in the video. I think he did really, really well. Never lost his temper, didn't get irate, quoted the rules, refused to give his details, all the things that you need to do if you're not breaking the law. Now, if you're going to go and do the same thing with a larger drone and you don't have your A2C of C, then expect to get bollocks, because that's what the rules are. And if you're going to break the rules, then you're going to suffer the consequences for it, as I know a few drone flyers have in the past for it. But yeah, ultimately he did a great job. So pop over to his channel. I'll link the video down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button for him. Give him a thumbs up and watch the video in the full. As for me, I'm going to go now. And obviously, please don't forget to subscribe if you're not a subscriber. It does help the channel to grow. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. You got any comments about the video, either leave them on my channel or go to Julian's and leave a comment on his channel. Otherwise, that's it. I'm going to go now. So, as always, wherever you fly, always fly safely.